Hi, my name's Randy. If you looked at me a few years ago, you'd never guess I'd end up working at Google. Back then, I was just some rookie with a laptop that overheated every half hour, barely holding together with duct tape. I wasn't from a top university, I didn't have a polished resume, and my code broke more often than it worked. Still, deep down, I had this wild dream. One day, to make it to the top, to Google. Most people laughed when I told them. "Dude, even geniuses get rejected from Google," one of my classmates said. "You? No way." And honestly, I almost believed him. I started small. Every night after my part-time job at a coffee shop, I'd drag myself home, open my old laptop, and try to learn. Sometimes I'd spend 4 hours just trying to fix a single bug. Other nights, I'd watch tutorials until my eyes burned, only to realize I hadn't understood a thing. But I kept going. Slowly, I built small projects. A weather app, a basic calculator, even a game that barely ran. Each time, it felt like climbing a mountain with no end in sight. One night, while debugging for the 100th time, I thought, this is pointless. People like me don't end up at Google. But the next morning, I checked my inbox. There it was. A subject line that made my stomach flip. Google interview invitation. At first, I thought it was a scam. Me? Interviewed by Google? I reread the email 10 times. It was real. My world turned upside down in that moment. I had 2 weeks to prepare. I became obsessed. I carried a notebook everywhere, scribbling down algorithms on the bus, in the coffee shop, even during dinner. I read, Cracking the Coding Interview, cover to cover twice. But it wasn't pretty. Most of the time, I failed. Out of 10 practice questions, I'd only solved 2 correctly. I broke down more than once. At 3 a.m., I'd stare at the screen thinking, maybe I should just cancel. I'm not cut out for this. Still, I pushed forward. I set a rule. Even if I failed every problem, I wouldn't stop until I gave it my all. The day came. My first phone interview. My palms were sweaty as I typed while the interviewer watched remotely. The first problem? Total disaster. My mind went blank. I froze. I thought it was over. But then, instead of giving up, I started speaking out loud. Okay, I don't see the answer right away, but here's how I'd break it down. The interviewer paused, then said, "That's interesting, keep going." I worked through it step by step, clumsy but logical. By the end, I had a working solution. Not perfect, but it showed my thinking. He actually sounded impressed. When the call ended, I didn't know if I had passed or failed, but I felt one thing. Proud I didn't quit halfway. A week later, I was invited for the second round. Multiple interviewers. Harder questions. This was a battlefield. At one point, they gave me a system design question I had never seen in my life. My brain went blank. The silence stretched. I thought about apologizing and walking away. Then I remembered advice I had read. When stuck, shrink the problem. So I started small. I broke it down into pieces, explained each step, and slowly built it back up. It wasn't elegant, but it made sense. One of the interviewers nodded. "That's the kind of thinking we look for," he said. That one comment lit a fire in me. By the third round, I was exhausted. My confidence was hanging by a thread. But then, out of nowhere, they asked me a problem I had practiced the night before. Almost identical. It felt like fate. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I solved it in record time. The interviewer raised his eyebrows, almost smiling. For once, I felt like I belonged there. But then came the curveball. At the very end, one of them asked, "Why do you want to work at Google?" I could have said something about innovation or money. Instead, I told the truth. Because I want to prove to myself that the kid everyone doubted, the kid who started with nothing, can actually stand here and belong. For a moment, there was silence. Then one interviewer smiled. I'll never forget that. After the interviews, I waited. 1 day passed, then 2, then a week. Every email notification made my heart race. At night, I lay awake, replaying every mistake I made. Finally, the call came. My recruiter's voice was calm, professional. "Randy, we'd like to officially offer you a position at Google." I dropped the phone. I literally dropped it. When I picked it back up, I asked her to repeat it. I couldn't believe it. When I told my parents, they didn't believe me at first. My friends? Shocked. The same people who laughed at me now said, "Man, how did you do it?" And here's the crazy part. I didn't do it because I was smarter than anyone. I did it because I refused to quit, even when I was convinced I'd fail. Looking back, the real story wasn't about joining Google. It was about the nights I almost gave up, the moments I failed, the countless times I thought I wasn't good enough. Success didn't come from genius. It came from persistence. From showing up, again and again, no matter how many times I fell. So yeah, I'm Randy, the rookie who made it to Google. And if there's one thing you take from my story, let it be this. Your starting point doesn't define your ending point. Your grit does. Subscribe to Insane Job Jams for more wild and inspiring stories from the world of work.